again, and thank you for watching this module 3 of our series about playing Association Croquet. I've called this module Strokes and Handicaps. It's not about medical infirmities, it's about some of the skills that you're going to need to play Association Croquet, and also something about how we equilibrate the players by the handicap system. You've probably noticed already that there's a much wider range of shots involved in playing Association Croquet than golf croquet. And of course the most critical in a way is the croquet shot itself, where you're putting two balls together and playing them. And there are quite a number of variants on this which we're going to look at briefly now, but we will cover in more detail as we get further into the series. The most basic shot of all is called the drive, and it's the one that's commonly used in golf croquet, for example. And I'm going to play 4 identical drive shots with these pairs of balls, and the aim is to see how far they go. So there we are. As you can see, the 4 strikers balls, the back balls, have gone, and I've got a tape measure here, they've gone between 17 and 17 feet, just over 3 yards. The front balls, the croquet balls, have gone between 15 yards and 18 yards there. So that relationship between the distance that the striker's ball moves and the croquet ball moves is known as the personal ratio, just over 3 to 1 in my case, and everybody needs to know what their personal ratio is. Your personal ratio will depend on how you approach and strike the ball, your mallet, how you hold the mallet, use the mallet, and of course how hard you hit the ball. I wasn't hitting those balls very hard, but it should basically remain the same no matter what happens. The second basic shot that we need to think about is the stop shot, and we looked at this in some detail in the golf croquet module series, module 2, so you can have a look at that. But basically the stop shot is moving the front ball quite a distance, but keeping the back ball, the striker's ball, more or less where it is, like this. The other main family of strokes in Association Croquet are what are known as roll shots or roll strokes, and I'm going to demonstrate 3 of them. This is actually going to be a simple drive, as we've just demonstrated, then a half roll, a full roll, and a pass roll. Now the aim of roll shots is to make the balls move relatively further than they would do with the simple drive. So in the half roll, the striker's ball, the green ball in this case, will go roughly half as far as the brown ball. The full roll, the yellow ball, the striker's ball, will go roughly the same distance as the red ball. And in the pass roll, the black ball, the striker's ball, will go a little bit further than the blue ball. And we do that by putting top spin on the balls. Now if you've played snooker, you'll be familiar with spin, top spin, bottom spin, side spins. You can't put side spin or back spin on a croquet ball, but you can put a little bit of top spin on by angling the mallet like this and then sweeping through the shot, so that as the mallet comes through, it interferes with the milling on the striker's ball and makes that ball topspin. And it's the amount of topspin that you put on the striker's ball that determines the relative distances that the balls will travel. Now again, I'm not going to hit these balls terribly hard. Of course, you can have say a half roll go this far, or you can have it go halfway down the lawn. I'm going to do sort of medium weight shots. So this is the first shot, as we've just done. It's a drive, very simple and no spin. So this is the half roll, and if you remember back in module 1, I did a half roll when we were going from here at hoop 4 down towards hoop 6. And in a half roll, you need to slope the mallet about 15 to 20 degrees like that, with your top hand perhaps a little bit lower than usual and your bottom hand halfway down. Now I'm right-handed, so that's where I would play it. Of course, if you're left-handed, it's the other way around, but I can't do left-handed shots. And I prefer to play half rolls in a fairly upright position, and then just sweep the mallet through the balls, but keeping the angle the same all the way through the shot. And head down and directly over the balls. So the green ball has gone just beyond the peg, and the brown ball has gone just beyond hoop 3. So that's a half roll. This is a full roll, in which case I want the two balls to go roughly the same distance. And with the full roll, you slope the mallet at about 45 degrees, but again keeping the angle the same all the way through the shot. And so that's putting quite a bit more topspin on the yellow ball. And again, I'm not hitting this too hard. My bottom hand now is right at the bottom of the mallet. Remember that you mustn't touch the head of the mallet. And my top hand is a little bit lower than it was for the half roll. So this is the pass roll or overtaking roll, and I want the black ball to go further than the blue. So I slope the mallet really well down at the front and then sweep through it in the shot. So this time my left hand, my top hand, is about halfway down the shaft of the mallet, and again my bottom hand is close to the bottom. So in this case, the striker's ball, the black, has gone just beyond hoop 6, and the front ball, the croquet ball, has gone just beyond the peg. You can, if you wish, play roll shots between your legs, as with any other sort of shot. I personally don't much like this, because I don't think it's a very elegant sort of shot. I much prefer the standing up form of roll shots, but basically you have to sort of semi-squat, and then keeping your head down, and again keeping the angle of the mallet the same all the way through the shot, hit the two balls as before. Now, I must say that I am not a great fan of this, because I think you can get more power into the shot and watch exactly what you're doing with the upright style, but some people prefer this, and you've got to work out for yourself which style you prefer. And of course you can use one in one situation, one in another. There's no law against using either. So there we are. Those are the basics of roll shots. There is yet another complication, because in each of the shots we've looked at so far, you can do split shots. In other words, sending the balls in different directions. And that's another little technique that we'll look at shortly. Now, there are occasions where you want to play, say, the red ball and leaving the blue ball here. But remember that the blue ball must move. It must at least shake. And if you remember back to module 1, I did one of these from leaving the peg in the when we were going to hoop 5 in that little break. So this is a thin takeoff. The balls must be touching to start with, and I'm going to play the red ball, and in order to make sure the blue ball does in fact move, I need to angle my mallet very slightly towards the blue ball, perhaps by about 5 degrees from the line of the actual shot, which would be in that direction. So I turn the mallet very slightly inwards. Now my target, which you'll see in a moment, is actually a piece of red cloth on the ground just beyond the peg. So it's what, about 20-25 yards away. And so the red ball is going to travel quite a long way. The blue ball is going to stay here. So that wasn't too bad. I'm what, 2.5 feet or so from the target. And if you're practicing, use a target such as this. It might be a bisque stick, it might be another ball, but something to give you a definite spot to aim for. Don't just shoot willy-nilly into the lawn. And if this was another ball that I was now going to rotate, I'd be very comfortable with that shot. This next shot is what's called a thick takeoff. And here, instead of being right alongside the croquet ball, the red ball has come back a little bit, so that when I hit it, the blue ball will go off in that direction. And this is a very useful shot for when you're on the boundary, as I am here. When you're playing a shot off the boundary, you need to get your croquet ball a little bit further out, so that when you come to pick it up again in a few shots time, it'll make it easier if it's 6 or 8 feet out from the boundary rather than 3. So this time I'm again going to play the red ball going down towards my target, but the blue ball will go off in that direction. So I'm playing this as before with a drive shot, but this time angling the mallet a bit more in towards the blue ball. So you can see now that the blue ball has come 2 yards away from the boundary, so it's much easier to get a ball into this space eventually. And my red ball, my striker's ball, is what, about 4 feet from the target, and that's quite okay. I could, if my target was another ball, I could roquet that quite comfortably. So how do we use these strokes in practice? Now, if you think back to module 1, I did a little demonstration of a 4-ball break, and this is hoop 2, and if you remember, I played a croquet shot with my blue to end up here in front of the pioneer, the yellow pioneer, for hoop 2. And so having played the croquet shot, I now need to do a little roquet on the yellow, and we did this in module 1. And so now I need to put my blue ball in a hoop running position and the yellow ball to the right of the hoop. This is hoop 2, so the next hoop is hoop 3, which in that direction, so it's helpful for the yellow ball to be on that side of the hoop. And so this is really just quite a simple, it's either a drive or a half roll, it's somewhere in between. And as it's a bit windy, I'm actually going to play it between my legs like this. When it's very windy, as it is today, it's sometimes easier to play like this. So this is, as you can see, it's not quite a full half roll, but I need to get the blue ball just about 18 inches in front of the hoop. gone a little bit further, but that's still okay. Having got to here, I have various choices as to what I can do depending on where the other balls were. Now, we haven't put any other balls out at the moment, but if I wanted to, I could rush the yellow beyond hoop 6. I could do a gentle croquet and then put it down to hoop 4 and with a split shot and taking my striker's ball over to hoop 3. Various choices. So that's one way of starting to build the break. Having the Pioneer ball dead in front of the hoop, as we did there, is excellent for the even numbered hoops. In other words, hoop 2, hoop 4, hoop 6, 2 back and 4 back and rover. But on the odd numbers hoops, 3, 5, 1 back, 3 back, you're going to have to turn a corner. So this is hoop 3. We will be coming across from hoop 2 over there, and then we've got to go through 90 degrees here. We're now going in that direction. So having the Pioneer ball dead in front of the hoop is not such a good idea, because if when you come to croquet it, you'll be pushing it further away from the hoop. It's much better to have the Pioneer at the odd alongside the hoop. So here I am, I've come across from hoop 2 somehow, a nice croquet distance from this Pioneer, and I just tap it quite easily, and then I get myself into a reasonable hoop running position. So it's, as we said before, always try and run the hoop with your ball that has been your Pioneer. It's sometimes called a pilot when it gets to this position. Pilot or Pioneer, whatever, on the live side of the hoop. It's so much easier to approach the hoop from this position. And this is just a little drive shot. You notice that the yellow ball has gone a fair way beyond the hoop, about 10 feet. That gives me the opportunity for a forward rush on the yellow to get it further into the lawn. So this is hoop 3, I run through the hoop, and now I have a very easy forward rush to take the yellow ball further into the lawn, pick up the other balls by hoops 4 and 5. Sad to say, it doesn't always happen that your Pioneer ends up in exactly the right place. And here we are at hoop 4, so we're going through the hoop in that direction, and this is the ideal place for the pilot ball and the striker's ball to take croquet, for the blue ball to go through hoop 4. Now I've put other sets of balls around in a circle, and a little practice routine that you can use is to play each of these balls as if you were actually going to have to run the hoop. So in this case, I want the yellow ball to be the other side of the hoop, and I want blue to be this side. So it's just a little drive shot. And then I can pop the blue ball through the hoop and then pick up the yellow. Let's get rid of those. On the other hand, the white ball is now my Pioneer stroke pilot, and I'm on the wrong side of the hoop. So now I want to leave the white ball here, but I want to get the pink ball onto the live side of the hoop. So I'm going to play a takeoff, a thin takeoff. And remember, you have to angle the mallet very slightly in towards the white ball. And from here, I can run the hoop. That's another one done. And of course the white ball was there as a reception ball. Here's another one. So this time my brown ball is the striker's ball, green ball is the pilot, and I want the green ball to move just to about here or so, and the brown ball obviously to be in a hoop running position. So this is a thicker takeoff. And that ran the hoop, and then pick up the green ball, of course. So we'll get rid of those. And then finally on this side we have a red and a black, and it's the same as before, but obviously from the other side of the hoop. I could actually, if I was being really, I'm doing a thin takeoff here, I could make it a thicker takeoff, which would move the black ball over towards hoop 5, which is probably a better outcome, slightly more difficult shot. And then pop the red through the hoop. And I can pick up the black again. And you can practice those sort of shots on your own. Just make a circle of balls around any hoop and practice those sort of drive shots, half rolls, thick takeoffs, thin takeoffs from different positions around the hoop, because you're going to have to be able to cope with this at various stages of a game. Association croquet can be played in various modes. Like golf croquet really, you can either play level or handicap, and we have a handicapping system which we'll explain in a moment, which enables all players to play on, as it were, a level playing field. Level games are exactly what they say, that there is no handicap, everybody comes and just plays the normal game. If you've watched the golf croquet modules, module 5 talks about the system for golf croquet. The association croquet system is broadly similar but slightly different. As with golf croquet, we have a range of handicaps, and for an association croquet the highest handicap you can normally have is 24 and the lowest is -3. But whereas in golf croquet the steps go down one at a time, in association croquet the step distance changes. So initially from between 24 and 12 you'll go down in steps of 2. So it's 24, 22, 20, 18, 16 and so on, down to 12. Then it goes down in ones, 12, 11, 10, 9 and so on, down to 5, and then down in halves, 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5 and so on, and until you get down to -3, which is World Championship standard. Now, in golf croquet, people walk around the course together, and as you may have seen in that series, when you take an extra stroke in golf croquet, you hand over a token of some description to show that you've actually done that. We have a rather different system in association croquet because we don't walk around the court together. One person will be playing and the other person will be sitting out and watching, and that person will have guardianship of a number of bisques. And this is a bisque, it's simply a white painted stick. And if I were playing my brother George, for example, his handicap is 9, mine is 3.5. So George would have 5.5 bisques. And a half is very often shown by means of an unpainted stick. This is slightly twirly, but so he would have 5.5 bisques. And fives are sometimes reckoned like this with 5 marks lined up, which you can swap for single bisques as and when. So at the start of a game with brother George, I would hand him his 5.5 bisques, and he can use the bisques at any time after a normal turn. And the signal to say that you want to use a bisque is simply to put your hand up, because the croquet lawn is a very big space, so to make sure that your opponent has seen that you want to take a bisque, put your hand up and your opponent will signal back that he's seen that. So what's the difference between a full bisque and a half bisque? Well, with a full bisque, it's just like coming on to the court and starting a completely new turn. You can rotate all the balls, you can run all the hoops, you can score as many points as you like with one bisque, provided of course you don't make any mistakes. And so a bisque is a very, very powerful weapon to use in a game of association croquet. Far more powerful than an extra stroke in golf croquet. A half bisque is a bisque which you can only get if you're playing obviously someone whose handicap is less than 5, where we go down in half steps. And you can only ever have one half bisque. You can't divide a full bisque into 2 half bisques. And a half bisque enables you to do all that you can do with a full bisque, but you may not score any points. So if you run a hoop, it won't count. If you hit the peg, it won't count. If you put an opponent's ball through a hoop, it won't count. But it's still a very, very powerful tool, and we'll have a look at how to use it in a moment. If players are of a fairly high handicap, say someone of handicap 18 was playing somebody of handicap 14, they can in fact make the game more interesting by choosing a base level of bisques. Very often, for example, 10. So that would mean that the handicap 14 player would have 4 bisques and the handicap 18 player would have 8 bisques. Because at that sort of level, it's really quite difficult for people to get a break and make it go without making mistakes. So having those few extra bisques makes it a much more interesting game for all concerned. So that's the end of Module 3, in which we've looked at some of the background to the various strokes and using bisques. Now in the next module, Module 4, we're going to look at the practicalities of when and when not to take a bisque.